Well, hello everybody! Happy Foxy Friday and happy Pride Month. Well, this year was the first year I ever went to a Pride Festival. Unfortunately, I didn't go as Heidi, and let me tell you why. So, a couple months earlier, I had said to my wife, why don't we check out the Pride Festival this year? Some of the activities, because there's a really big one in Salt Lake City. And she said, yeah, I think I'd like to do that. And she's like, I'm sure you'd like to go as Heidi, right? I'm like, yeah, I think that would be appropriate. So we had kind of planned on doing that. And then, like, the week leading up to it, she hadn't mentioned it. And I said, so Pride is this weekend. Are you still wanting to go? And she's like, you know what? I don't feel like it. I'm not feeling it now. And I'm like, that's fine. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, then I don't want you to do it and not be comfortable. If we're gonna go, I want it to be a good experience. So I said, but I think I wanna go. And I was really hesitant about going by myself as Heidi. Both of us have like this anxiety about doing something new. And doing something new, well, dress as Heidi is a little intimidating. I just kept picturing myself wandering around downtown trying to figure out where this Pride Festival was and going down dark alleys and I don't know, whatever. But anyway, so I was kind of hesitant to do it. And well, the night before, some friends of ours were like wanting to get together. And so I said to my wife, well, what if we went with these friends to the Pride Festival and I would go as my guy self, and then would you like to do that? And she's like, yeah, I would totally be comfortable doing that if we went just as couples, husbands and wives. So we took the commuter train in downtown and we found the festival pretty easily, as I should have guessed. And it was much different than I expected because all I really knew was what I had seen on the news. And I kind of pictured it being more like Bourbon Street, where you can pop in and out of different clubs and restaurants and stuff. And in the street, there's all kinds of festivities and live music and stuff. And it really wasn't like that where we went. It was like just like acres of corporate booths showing that they support LGBT. But I have to admit that it was not the best time of day. We were there too late for the parade and too early for any of the evening stuff. People watching was fantastic. Some of it was a little unusual. There was a group of guys wearing harnesses and other things. There was the furries. There was a lot of women wearing like see-through tops with just like band-aids over their nipples. They stood out a lot. Yes, their breasts stood out. Anyway, I didn't see a lot of cross-dressers or trans, at least none that really stood out to me. There was a group of drag queens, but I think they were from like a show that is local. But the thing that was most interesting to me was on our train ride home, we sat down and kind of a couple rows in front of us was a group of girls. They were facing us. And they were obviously coming back from the Pride festivals as well. And most of them were just wearing like t-shirts and shorts, like I said, and sneakers. But one girl was dressed a little nicer. She had kind of this nice flowy blouse and just like little wedge sandals. And I thought, oh, she looks really pretty. And as I looked at her, I'm like, oh, her nose is a little more angular, kind of like mine. And I am usually like really self-conscious about my nose being kind of bumpy and angular. And I'm like, oh, that pretty girl there has kind of the similar nose that I have. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, we're coming from a Pride festival. Maybe it's not a cis girl. So I looked at her a little closer and I was trying to figure this out. And so I looked at her hands. They were not like super slender, but they weren't like masculine. And I looked at her. There was no Adam's apple that I could notice. I looked at like her eyebrow bones, and they were slightly protruding, but not enough that would signal anything specific. And then I heard her talk to her friends, and her voice was feminine, but just a little bit deeper than most girls. So I'm like, put all those pieces together, and yeah, she's a trans girl. She was like super cute and had great hair. And it actually kind of made me feel good that, you know, she had many of the features that I have and still looked very attractive. It was, in my mind anyway, it was like seeing Heidi at age 22 or whatever. I know everybody out there says, oh, you look fantastic anyway, but whatever. Everyone's insecure in their own way. And also, one of the neat things that came from it is afterwards, my wife said, you know what, that wasn't too bad. I would be happy, I would feel comfortable doing that again next year with Heidi. And so, we'll see if a week from before she gets cold feet again. If she does, that's fine. Another interesting thing was the couple that we were with made a comment that, wow, people really turn out for this. If you go to any other festival, whether it's the Greek festival or the Country Western festival, it's not supported to this extent. So many so many corporate booths, so many people showing up in their rainbow shirts and whatever, and he was just really impressed. So that was my experience, and I'm sure next year I'll have more things to talk about. Have a great rest of the month, everybody.